Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time to review Mickey 17. This is the newest film by Bong Joon-ho, who needs no introduction. The man is coming off of Parasite, and he has a $100+ million budget Warner Brothers blockbuster comedy sci-fi film to share with us all. Bong Joon-ho, though he is an icon of Korean cinema, is no stranger to English language films, this being his third after Okja and Snowpiercer. And if you lump all those films together, it really does form a very tidy triangle, doesn't it? I mean, it unexpectedly has these exact themes that Okja has. It absolutely shares themes with Snowpiercer. I really love Snowpiercer and I like Okja. I would put this somewhere maybe in between, but closer to Okja. But I found this to be an extremely enjoyable, very well made, well-crafted, and intellectually engaging time at the cinema in a month when it's kind of a drought for movies typically. Yeah, you gotta be thankful when something like this comes along. And I just think it's so hard not to love how goofy and unique the vision is here. Like, this is truly a director who was just given carte blanche to make something that doesn't really check the boxes of what studios would want from a movie that they need their money back. Yeah, but I also think it does give the audience enough of a good time. Though I have seen like B cinema score and like okay audience
that makes
ratings,
a lot of sense to me.
But I really feel like, at least in my theater, a lot of the people, I saw it on like a Thursday, the opening night, and the audience was chattering about Bong Joon-ho's other work afterwards, and they all seem to really like it. Like, I think people who know what they're getting into are in for a really good time, and I would recommend this to general audiences, at least just to get out of your comfort zone, like just slightly, but I don't think it's really a chore. I think it's a very fast-paced, fun, breezy film overall. I definitely had a good time, but there were parts where I felt like the world building was so heavy that I wasn't necessarily having fun like in the moment, and I was more just kind of at a distance watching like these players and thinking about, what these allegories are and things like that. Oh yeah, it was very, I can't say intellectually stimulating after The Brutalist, so I'll just say, I don't know if I found all the scenes to be like standouts in and of themselves. They're just kind of little clumps in like this big hulking monster of a movie. And there were some scenes that were really wonderful, like the dinner scene stuck out a lot in my mind. I definitely appreciate the over-the-top and goofy characters that these actors and Bong Joon-ho came up with and how he lets them be cartoonish. Robert Pattinson was perfect here. I like that he's really defying our expectations for what he can do at every turn. It seems to be his intention and a great strategy when you're coming from a film like Twilight where you're typecast. I mean, he's done an amazing job at breaking out and getting on a bunch of high-profile filmmakers' radars, and going from like The Lighthouse to Batman to Mickey 17, like he does this wonderful whiplash, and he's bringing something here that he hasn't brought to any of his other films. I think it felt spot on for creating that lovable but woefully dumb, a little bit ignorant Mickey character.
Yeah, and then the other Mickey, which
the other Mickey
I felt like I could tell the two apart just by looking at them. I was really impressed that all the comedic sensibilities for Pattinson are really there too.
I really liked Naomi Ackie here. I was afraid in the first half that I wasn't getting enough from that character, but she had some really memorable moments, and one moment in particular when the audience was very much on her side during a monologue that I thought was an absolute joy. And, between this and Sorry Baby, I think she's got a great year. Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette were very enjoyable as well.
Mark Ruffalo's so fucking weird here. Like,
I think Poor Things kind of primed us for that silly side that he has, but he was very funny here.
Just does all this weird shit with his mouth. And I know that he has false teeth in, but there was just an oddness to his character. It felt like all these weird mannerisms resulted in this cult of personality that you could imagine developing around this man.
Well, except to the audience, we're just like, that person's fucking weird, which feels like the real world also.
That's what I'm saying. And I think that Mark Ruffalo is very clear about who he's pointing out with this character.
Yeah. And remember Mark Rylance and Don't Look Up? I think that those performances, also with false teeth, it kind of resembles that one. I think, both of them can duke it out for who has the best, like, oligarchic CEO impression. The part I really connected with here was the sci-fi enveloped satire. It was refreshing for me to see a film like this that reflects our world and where it seems inevitably pointing, especially at this time now more than ever, where, you have like these religious elements intersecting into like companies and corporations, which are just expanding and like consuming more and more of not just like attention, but like our, the universe in this case, and them being like so wrapped up also in politics. Like it was our world to me, or at least where we're headed.
It says a lot about how fascistic governments and hyper-capitalist structures can ingrain a certain lack of self-worth within us, and how that's kind of needed for them to survive.
Yeah, because it's about what you're valued for in terms of your own ability to perform physical labor. It's your body is capital.
Yeah, like the
which
more
I think is what
expendable-
Honora is about on like a much more subtle level. But in this film, it's very front and center.
Yeah,
and I hope that nobody gets it twisted like they did with Squid Games. Like, this is about hyper-capitalism and not anything else.
And how you're most valuable to these people when you are the most expendable. I actually really love these ideas. They come to a head in ways that I don't think cut as deep as something like Parasite. It's such a high bar.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because, at a certain point, all the ideas are kind of laid out there. I don't think characters have to make that complicated decisions. Mark Ruffalo's character is so cartoonishly evil that you don't really get that much out of him after a certain point, other than like, well, yeah, we know that, like, fuck this guy.
I think we should make those people cartoonishly evil. America loves to flirt with these like mega CEOs, idolize them, like bow down to them, and like we need a film to subvert that, even if it's in like a very blunt way.
Maybe people need the messages to be obvious nowadays, perhaps.
I also really like the line about "we are the aliens," like, you idiot. Even though there's a very obvious way that it applies to the world, like I hope people sit with that. There's a lot of excellent social, political critique going on here. It's all pretty on the surface. Bong Joon-ho's politics are laid out very bare. I also really love the animal rights message that Bong Joon-ho places in here, which was unexpected and very much harkens back to what he was saying with Okja. We just don't see that being talked about in films, and it is a huge problem that the world has right now, of the way that we treat the things that we eat and the entitlement we think we have to their bodies. I really like this film. I'm glad Bong Joon-ho decided to do this project, and I would give this a strong 8 out of 10.
I am between a 7 and an 8 on this, but I think that there are enough really good ideas that I would go to it with a light 8 here. As far as awards, which some of you may want to know, when you just sit you down and just tell you straight up, like, this is getting goose egged at next year's Oscars, I think that Robert Pattinson will get a Comedy Golden Globe nomination, unless it's too tight.
It might just be too tight.
Usually it's not, though. Like, this year he would have gotten in. The production design, absolutely worthy.
Production design would be worthy. I liked the screenplay a lot. I wouldn't mind this getting several nominations.
The visual effects, I think people will be predicting that for a long time. I even think the Critics' Choice are going to maybe go for that. As much as this is an example of a lot of visual effects in a very good film, that may be a formula that looks like it can get in. I would be surprised if a visual effects artist said that this was some of the most impressive work of the year. I'm not sure it's like boundary pushing kind of work. It's like a cool use of visual effects.
I think the visual effects were good enough to tell the story, and they weren't like, oh my god, that looks so realistic, which is fine.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
How many Mickeys would you like to invite to your birthday party?